Ms. Emery, can I have roll call, please?
Miss Williams-Moeller.
Present.
Mr. DeWin.
Here.
Miss Dice.
Present.
Mr. Affelt.
Present.
Mr. Simon.
And Ms. Ash is on her way. I was going to say Kent. That would be wrong. All right. If we can all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So, for the agenda, we'll actually be moving items H and I following public comment this evening. Any objections to that? Can I get a motion to approve that amendment?
Okay. So move.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Great. No objections stated. All right, great. We're moving ahead according to that plan. So we'll now go on to actually item D and E. Perhaps take item D first. Closed session report out from March 12th.
On March 12th, the board met in closed session to discuss employee discipline, dismissal, and release, and no actions were taken.
Thank you. Item E, report out from closed session on March 22nd.
The board met to discuss personnel issues per Government Code Section 54957.6. No actions were taken.
Thank you, Ms. Emery. Now we'll have item F, public comment for members of the public to address the board on items not on this evening's agenda. If you do have comments, please come forward. Good evening.
Okay, and a short while, I don't know exactly when, this board is going to decide to spend money to clean up the toxic soil at the Center for Community Life site. The report that you have that we paid for that tells us how to do it, it gives you three alternatives. One is to do nothing, which of course is not really an option. And then you have alternative, so-called alternative 3 and alternative 2 and alternative 3. Alternative 2 calls for leaving huge amounts of toxins on the site underneath the vapor barrier. And alternative 3 calls for essentially removing virtually all of the toxins. That's your job, to remove all the toxins. I'm letting you know here, not in writing, but verbally here, that I expect you to remove all of the toxins, virtually all of the toxins, truck it away, get it off the site. It's not appropriate to have elementary school age children in an environment with lead and arsenic, VOCs, and other toxins, especially the lead. So I expect you to go with alternative 3, even though it's going to cost more money. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Oops. Thank you for your public comment. Are there any other public comments at this time on items not on the agenda this evening? All right. So we'll now move on to item H, school site safety plans.
What about G? Skipping G?
So we took a vote to move that around, so it's going to follow his item. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Ken Wright. I'm the head of security for Emery Unified and the emergency manager for Emery Unified. I'm going to be speaking about our safety plans for both sites tonight. basically, both site plans are completed. It's been a long time coming. I've been working very hard to get this done and accomplished. So we're at the point now that we have to have them turned into the Office of Education in Sacramento by the 1st of April. So we're notifying the school board that that's the next step in the procedure to get our school district where they need to be. And I've been very happy about this because it's been something that has been a long, hard fight for me to make sure we have the right things to make sure all our kids and our staff in the school district are protected and are safe. I had an old plan that I was using about 2 or 3 years ago, and I found a checklist online from another school district, and I noticed on the checklist and what I had in front of me, nothing matched up. So I'm part of the school, Alameda County Schools Emergency Managers Quorum, and I spoke to the emergency manager for Castro Valley. He told me about this company called DPREP. So I contacted DPREP, and they came out and we had a very good meeting. And they went through everything and all the new policies and procedures. They took out a whole lot of old things that doesn't make any sense anymore. We had redundant teams where one team was doing 5 different things. Now we only have, 5 teams doing one thing. Now we only have one team now. So these things like this, DPREP brought it to our attention. We did walkthroughs at both sites, and they showed us our weaknesses and our strengths. At Annie Yates, we had a few weaknesses, and I expected that. At the new site at Santa Fe, we had a lot, but they understood that we were just renting this building for right now. So he kind of gave us, he still told me to go through the process, just like it was ours to keep. So he helped us out. Now, the funding for this DPREP meetings and them coming in to help us out with the safety plan, I want to thank Ms. Dunn because it came through the wellness, because we tried about, I think it was 3 years ago, to get a RIM grant to do all of this with. And the RIM, we didn't qualify for the RIM grant. So we had to find other ways to get funding to get this thing done. And Ms. Dunn, through wellness, was able to get this done. So the next thing is I've been working with the site administrators. So we have safety councils on both sites. Each safety council will meet once a month. And what we're going to do right now for the rest of this year, we're going to train the safety councils so they know how to work through the safety plan correctly. I want, before the end of the year, I'm expecting to do at least one tabletop disaster drill with the safety councils only. It's just going to be the safety councils, because the reason is next year, once we start the year, the safety councils are going to actually help us train the staff and students at both sites. So that this way we'll be ready for anything. And this is one of my future goals. I would love to have a district-wide emergency disaster drill with EPD, fire, and EMTs. And Alameda County Emergency Management, they said they would come out and help out, monitor, and survey, and help us out where we needed any help. So these are the things that we're doing with the safety plans. I'm going to, once the superintendent signs off on them, We'll be sending them to Sacramento, and I hope and I pray that everyone, if you have any questions about the safety plan, feel free to contact me. You know, ask questions, because the safety plan is a living document. We have to revise it every year. If there's someone that leaves the district, we have to replace that name. We have to train that person. Once we get to the ECCL, Mr. Solomon, Jeff Solomon is the gentleman from D-Prep that I work with. He's going to give us the advice if we should just go to one safety plan or keep both safety plans, one for the high school, one for the K through 8, the two different buildings. And then once we get, if that happens, then we'll have to do a separate one for the district office and the rec center together. So there'll be 3 safety plans on one site. But he's going to give us direction on which way would be best. If there's any questions.
My mute was stuck. Look, thank you so much for, elaborating even on what the plans are for the new facility as well. I think that's very helpful, and to note the importance of making sure it's pretty well coordinated as staff members leave, as people leave, and having to ensure that we have some follow-up and connection back to this plan. So that's very helpful. I'll just ask if there's any questions. We do have a public hearing next on this particular item as well, but ask if there's any questions while this item is here in front of us.
So have these, thank you for the presentation, Mr. Wright. Have these plans been vetted and reviewed, approved, written by the school site councils at each site?
Well, about 3 years ago, well, maybe 4 years ago, when Mr. Monroy was over the school site councils, he turned the safety council, all that information over to myself and the people that we had on the team at that time. So we've been working on all of that since that period of time. So the site councils have not asked for anything. So that we're going to actually have another public forum at the high school where anyone can come out, and we're going to do a presentation there with the safety plans too for them. Mm-hmm. So if there's any major things that need to be changed, like I said, it's a living document. We can make changes. But right now, compliance with the state, that's what I'm focusing on right now.
Well,
and if I might interject, Member Appel, I've talked to Mr. Wright and to Ms. Allen about this matter, and it is important that these documents be accessible to each of the school site councils and to the staffs at each of the schools. The law, I think, allows for this to be a living document, as Mr. Wright points out. I believe that because of the size of a document of this nature, with some 100 pages involved, it's going to take, it'll be a living document for many years to come. But I think that it has to be brought to the attention of each of these sites. Unfortunately, we're under a deadline to meet state requirements of April 1st. Well, obviously, we're not going to get too much input in that timeline. But the fact that it's a living document, as we proceed through it and actually live through it, we'll be able to, improve it, make improvements and amendments as we proceed. And also, I wanted to say how fortunate we are that Mr. Wright has taken the lead with this, and in his job as security for the district has taken the lead in presenting it to us.
yeah, so I appreciate all the work you've put in on pulling these together and giving some thought to it. I mean, That said, my understanding is that these are not plans to be developed or even approved by the board, per se. They are plans to be developed at the school site by school site councils. And the fact that we have a, I don't think it counts that we had a school site council 3 or 4 years ago look at this. When I was on the council 2 years ago, we didn't look at a school site safety plan. So I'm not objecting. I don't have a problem if the district wants to send these versions, which are unsigned, to the state to say these are our plans. But in the meantime, I think they do need to go to the site councils for not future but immediate review, approval, changes, and modifications. If the state comes back, as they may well, and say, where's the sign off, then we'll have a response. Here is our safety plan that the site councils have approved, and or here is, here's the updated version that hot off the press. That's what I would recommend, but I'm not in favor of our officially endorsing these as the site council's document, because they're not.
Well, the safety councils are going to sign them before we send them off.
So you're saying safety council versus site council?
Yeah, the safety council is the one that signs these. If you look in the back, it asks for the safety council.
Yeah,
The safety
and my
council-
understanding is that it is the school site council that plays the role of the body
No,
that.
there's
you're saying
it's
it's
two different councils. It's a safety council and a school site council.
And who's on the safety council at
For
Anna
who?
Yates?
The staff.
No.
You want the names of everyone?
Yeah, I had that same question. Who are the members?
Yeah.
But what I did hear Mr. Wright say, Member Atfield, is that I guess 3 or 4 years ago, there was a decision to move this responsibility from the school site council to the safety council. So, it appears that responsibility was moved from the school site councils. Am I right, Mr. Wright? That's what it sounds like he said.
Yes,
Yeah,
Mr.
yeah.
Mr. Monroy
Monroy, yeah.
shifted it.
Right. Although I do agree that the plans should be shared with the school site council as well. But as Mr. Wright said, apparently, I guess this safety council is the governing committee for this report. But I had the same question as far as who was on the council.
Well, we have the president of the Anna Yates School Site Council here, or chair,
Well,
who's also looked at this.
would you like to know the members' names?
That'd be great.
It's Ms. Cologne,
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Hessel, Ms. Joy Jones, Ms. Pierce are the ones that Ms. Lathan gave me the names for those.
So Ms. Jones and Ms. Pierce, are those parents or those? are
Ms.
those-
Jones
are
is
those
a
staff?
parent, Ms. Pierce is a teacher.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Okay.
So I guess just from a follow-up point, I think it would be helpful, we do want to make sure that the work that's been done is done. And I don't think, we don't have a position to hold it up, but I think we're just stressing the fact that in terms of a next step be that they do find their ways to the site councils, as they are the governing bodies for these documents anyway. But it would be helpful, I think, in the future, in a future meeting to figure out if it makes sense. And I'm certain that a decision was made because of so many other factors, and you can't address that at this point. But just to, revisit that with us so we understand what the, not understand what happened in the past, but, reevaluating and assessing, what those requirements are and making sure that they line up as they should, just to, benefit the communication, being more clear and transparent about it. I think will just help us.
Anyone that wants to come to the Site Safety Council meetings, they can come.
Yeah.
Are they noticed, and are they noticed publicly? And
I can put them on the website or something.
Yeah, and posted at the school sites so that parents know that there's a safety council meeting happening. Yeah,
Let me
that'd
ask
be
you,
great.
are any of the individuals on your council, are they on the school site council as well?
No.
Okay.
Any other? Don't have something.
Who? Oh, okay.
Okay, so Ms. Cologne,
See,
so
she
you do
didn't
have
tell me.
one member of the school site council on there.
Okay.
Okay, well, I think you have a vehicle to get this information to the school site council in an expedient way.
Yeah, it's a good, I think staff gets it, everybody.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
clear, it's very helpful, so.
Understood.
and-
We'll follow up and make sure that the school site councils certainly should have copies of this and certainly should have input. We don't expect that they're going to be able to give us much input by the deadline, but we certainly are going to make sure that their input's taken into consideration as we continue working with this document.
And frankly, it's important, at the end of the day, it's important that you feel very confident you have the right protocols and tools to ensure the safety of our students and our families, students, families, and staff. So I think it's as much as we are hearing about and seeing in the news as evidenced through
Yes.
many reports. So, I do agree that it's a living, breathing, it will always evolve. And fortunately, we are talking about it now in terms of temporary locations, but we're also, as you said, you're working toward the future situation. So that's very helpful. Very helpful indeed. Any other questions, comments before we open the public hearing on this particular item? Anything? So I'm just gonna open. If there are members of the public want to address this particular one prior to the public hearing, please.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. I'll keep it really short. We did address this. The Anna Yates School Site Council has just kind of grown into a legitimate body where we have 6 members. We have 2 or 3 teachers, 2 or 3 parents, principal. We have met virtually every month. Last month, we did cover the discipline section and a small part of safety, where we actually wrote out the law, talked about the concept of the comprehensive plan. And so what the stage that we're at is, ideally, we should have some input into the appointment of the members of the safety committee and the discipline committee. We're not there yet. Comfortable with the members that are there and the work that has been done and the excellent work Mr. Wright has done. So we would just ask to review and send a comment and then leave it open and for amendment at a later date. That's it.
Can I ask, when you say you reviewed this, did you review these specific safety plans, or you're reviewing
did not
just
review
the
this
general
document.
duties and obligations?
We did review some of the information in here, we did review. But we have not reviewed the whole document, so I can't give an opinion. But we're at a stage where we can. So I will get a copy of this, distribute it to all the members tonight, if I can get a digital copy from Ms. Emery, and ask them, hey, look through it, and at least give you some type of comment before the first. It won't be a comprehensive comment, but it'll be some type of recognition that you can send to the state.
Well, that would be helpful and appreciated.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And if we could do a similar sort of thing with the high school site council, that would be great too.
Will do.
Yeah. Thanks.
Other public comment?
This is the first time I've laid eyes on this document, the Emery Unified School District Comprehensive School Site Safety Plan. And so I'm just quickly perusing here while Mr. Wright was speaking. And I'm seeing all kinds of problematic issues here. As a parent, there's some things in here that I'm concerned about. In the section about like grounds for expulsion or suspension, I'm seeing all kinds of things here. Possession of tobacco products for high school students, students engaged in obscene act, I don't, by whose definition, habitual profanity or vulgarity, again, doesn't seem problematic to me, not necessarily, certainly. Drug paraphernalia that seems like with the wrong people upholding this law, it seems like this could be a problem. Defying the valid authority of supervisors, school officials, just have problems with it. In the wrong hands, this language, it can be used as a blunt instrument to harm students. And frankly, a lot of this smells like, to me, like a zero tolerance sort of regime. And anybody that's followed the sort of the Republican model of school discipline knows that the zero tolerance mantra is sort of what they're engaging in, and it's abhorrent to a district like ours, and I'm just alarmed by this. I'm not making any accusations here, but I'm concerned, and I hope that we don't start down a zero tolerance path, and this is what I'm a little concerned about here. And then, frankly, coming from Mr. Wright, who seems like a very nice man, but he informed us last year that to have a bicycle pedestrian path alongside the Center for Community Life was tantamount to reckless disregard for student safety, is what he told our committee, the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee, of which I'm a member. And Mr. Wright told us that pimps and drug dealers would be using this path, and they'd be cutting holes in the fences and taking our children. And this is a bike ped path that the general plan requires us to build. And so Mr. Wright seems like a fine man, seems like a very nice man, but that kind of, that seems like it's more like, seems like that's coming from a place of zero tolerance and not understanding of other people's, or not having empathy for other people's situations. And it seems like it's a little bit of a law and order response unnecessarily. And so that context causes me to be alarmed by this language in this document. Now, again, I'll say Mr. Wright seems like a very nice man. So nothing personal, please. But it causes me some concern. Thank you. So I'll be looking at this in the weeks to come, and I hope that my concerns are don't combine with reality. I hope I'm mistaken when I'm concerned about this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment prior to public hearing? Anything else? So what I'm going to do now is just move forward. I think it's clear that the other points, and I know there were a number of comments made. So what I'll do now is actually open up the public hearing on the comprehensive school site safety plan. If there's any comments to this particular item that need to be recorded at this time, please do so. Seeing one comment, all right. I know, huh?
I know. It's like all the tall people have spoken before me. So
You can always bring it down.
there you go. Okay. I only have two things to say. I've been working with the Coordinated School Health Plan, which school safety and green schools is one of the components, and Mr. Wright, as well as Mr. Shavrin, have worked on this plan for a long time. and it's gone through many, many different changes and stages, and we've been trying to find the best template and follow the template to the best of our ability. It is a living... I think technology really does not like me. It is a living document, and we're working forward to make sure that we keep our kids safe. And to that effect, one comment I do want to make, because Mr. Wright is a very nice man, but more importantly, he is there every day with students, helping them. And there was no thought ever in our minds about any kind of zero tolerance. It was more, let's get the best information we can. And we're subject to any kind of information that you want to bring and help us to write, to give all that, give your input at the public hearing. But we are there every day working with our students, being there for them, and trying our best to make sure that they're safe, healthy, and that they're academically enriched. And there was never, ever a thought to doing anything but that. And I just want to be public about saying that so that people will, and will understand that we're trying to do the best we can, and we will always do that and have been. So I'm just letting people know.
Thank you. Any other comments in the public hearing phase? All right, so this public hearing is now closed. And again, thank you, Mr. Wright, for bringing this document forward. And we look forward to hearing about the next status, the next phase of it. I think one of the key points here is that, and I just wanted to address one comment real brief, is that I share Ms. Dunn's opinion that I think the key here is that we have to make sure we have the right language to deter, issues from happening. But I haven't experienced, as a former student myself, and as an auntie who has seen a kinder to now graduating senior, I've seen a lot of compassion from this district and ensuring that our students have what they need to get through their challenges and what they feel are defining moments for them, which are often issues that are mentioned, some of the very things you mentioned. So I do think as a district we are very thoughtful about how we move forward with even certain policies. I mean, this is something we really pay a lot of attention to. So I just wanted to appreciate your comment, and again, look forward to more information being shared about our goals and our direction as we move forward. And definitely, hopefully, we'll have what the tools we need and the staff and everything that we need to ensure the safety of everyone. So thank you again. Just for next item, we do have item G, which we kind of took out of order. So we'll now actually move into item G, and just because this is a little differently structured item, what I'm going to do first is go to public comment and then go into the item itself. So this item is called, and I just lost it, recognition of Joshua Simon, who has been a member of the Emery Unified School Board of Trustees for a number of years. And with that, I'll just ask if there's public comment to that first. None? Yeah. It's all, look, it takes time. It takes time.
Josh and I have popped popcorn, grown vegetables, worked in wellness to get it started, put up tents, taken down tents, worked at, health day, family day, all kinds of, been on we were chaperones on a 12th grade out on a boat, which I don't recommend that we do that again, for prom. And I've known his daughters and his lovely wife. Basically what I'm saying is that there isn't a more committed person to this district that I have not found. We've gone back and forth on issues. We've talked about a lot of things in depth. And basically, I've grown at Emery, and I know he's grown at Emery, and we will miss him sorely, but I know that he will be around to call on at any time, even now. And I just wanted to say publicly how much I appreciate that in you, and how much I appreciate your wife for letting us use you as much as she has. Because I know she was like, where is he now? What is he doing? And your daughters too. And public service is not an easy thing for people to do. And I commend all of you for doing that, and people for being out here and making comments whatever way you do. It's not easy, but I appreciate the fact that you took the time to give your time to us.
Like, other public comments, please come on up.
Good evening, and Carol Balfe, retired science resource teacher, and I want to appreciate the huge amount of work and service that you've given to this district. As like Juliet, we haven't always agreed on things. But we have discussed issues frequently, and I've really appreciated your dedication, the time you've put in. Quite frankly, when we were getting the Science Resource Center up and running, and when I was really putting it together, I honestly could not have gotten it together to be the kind of warm, inviting place that I think it is without Josh coming in Saturday after Saturday after Saturday, just setting up aquariums and terrariums, and the amount of work that's involved in organizing that science center was pretty huge. And more than any other parent, Josh was there. He's not the only parent who was there. There was a group that put the greenhouse up, for example, and that sort of thing, the Dad's Club. But just that alone has just been really, really huge, his support of science and the program. So I want to thank you for the over and above, and even for housing animals over the summer. And Ruth, I want to thank you for that, because I know sometimes they were stinky. And you may be getting some more requests again, because we still have to house animals over the summer. But we do want to really appreciate not just the explicit board work, but all of that as well. So thank you.
Tall people's thing up here. Good evening, Joshua. My name is Mark Kelly. I'm a resident in Emeryville, and what I wanted to do is just express my great appreciation for the work, the time, the effort that you've put into the district and what it does for the city at large. Josh and I worked a bit on ECDC, and I got to know him a little bit through that. And you'd be happy to know there's some positive turn of events there that are coming up. But at the end of the day, I think that for all the time and effort that you've put in, you've gone home really late at night, tired, with your kids to deal with your business to deal with and all that. It's an honorable thing. It's a wonderful thing. And I think that the district, while they're going to miss you, has enjoyed the huge benefit of your presence. And as, again, a community member, I want to thank you for that.
Good evening. I would just like to thank Mr. Simon for all his service for so long in this district. And I remember meeting him, I think at that time I was a teacher, and he was a parent and his daughters were like 3 and 2 years old. And I would think, why is he coming to our parent meetings? Doesn't he find this boring, and why would he, and why would he want to sit here through this? However, the information that he gave and how well you participated was invaluable. And I think as a board member, you've gone above and beyond what any of us in terms of staff could ask for. Not only have you been helpful with resources, like Dr. Balf had mentioned, hands-on, member has been has offered help when we needed help, or has offered your time when we needed that time. And so I also want to thank your wife, Ruth, for giving you us, or allowing you to be a part of this district for over 10 years. And so I can't stand up here long enough to just state how much you've been of value to our district, and how much I personally appreciate what you've brought to the table in terms of equity, and having conversations about race, and having conversations about underserved students in our district. So I wish you well in terms of, your next endeavors. I know that we'll still see you. And hopefully, some of us will be able to participate and see Maya and some of her performances. I love hearing her stories about when you all travel and visit family out of the country. And so it's just been a complete delight to have you and your family here in our district. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Josh, I wanted to just take a few minutes to just thank you for all the T-shirts that you sponsored for our students, for the different events that we held, and you wanted to make sure that you helped me to make sure that they were uniformed. Thank you for all the cheerleading outfits, and I really want to thank you for all the things you've done for my daughter and making sure that she felt like she had family. And I can go forever and ever and ever, but thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And Ruth already gave me your new address, so I'll be knocking.
This is nice.
Good evening. I too stand to say thank you and say how much as a teacher I appreciate the work that you have done. I appreciate you stopping by just because. One of the board members who will just stop by just to say, hey, I'm checking in. How you doing? And how was your break? How was your weekend? That means a lot. As a new teacher, before I got to meet the two wonderful scholars that were with us, I too enjoy hearing Maya sing. I can't wait to see what Sarah Bills, what new creation she will come up with. But thank you. Even when we had to move here, your family helped pitch in when I was over in what I call the little dungeon over there. When my classroom was really, really small and we had to move in the middle of the year, you and your family showed up to help, to pack up, to just put things in place. And thank you so much for explaining certain things when, as a teacher, I just didn't understand why things had to be a certain way. You had no problem saying, okay, well, this is how this is laid out, and this is why, and this is why, and okay, that's a great idea. We could consider that. Just always having a listening ear for teachers' concerns and questions. And thank you.
Now to inject some reality. Josh is a really nice man. I knew Josh. I met him before he was on the school board, and I really liked him immediately. Just very personable, mild-mannered, well-spoken, intelligent, all-around nice guy. However, Josh is an elected official. He's a politician. He asked us to vote for him so he could serve on the school board. And I've had politicians my whole life ask me to vote for him. George W. Bush asked me to vote for him. And I suppose if I were speaking at his retirement party from politics, he seemed like a nice guy. I might say that because, it's sort of impolitic to completely trash somebody when they're leaving. However, at George Bush's retirement, I would point out his problematic public policy. And likewise, I'm going to say a few things here about Josh's, what I consider problematic public policy, because you did ask me to vote for you. So Mr. Simon isn't dying. He is moving on, moving to Oakland. And I wish, Josh, I wish you all the luck in the world, because I think you deserve it. You're a nice man. But as an elected official, as a school board member, I've got some problems. And I am hoping that new school board members will not have the sort of problems I'm going to elucidate here really quickly. When the teachers, 93% of the teachers at the school district told Mr. Simon that they could not work with our superintendent, Deborah Lindo, that unfortunately fell on deaf ears. Mr. Simon was unmoved. However, he did respond by helping to craft a resolution supporting the superintendent, which I think caused a lot of damage to the relationship that the district has with the teachers. So, as we all know, Ms. Lindo is now gone, and yet we still have this damaged relationship with the teachers, and Mr. Simon wasn't alone in that choice, but Josh, I think you were part and parcel. You certainly played your part, and I think it was bad policy. I think you should have supported the teachers, and I think as you leave now, we're going to have to try to rebuild a trust, we being, the school board, the district, we'll have to rebuild trust for the teachers, and so I didn't appreciate that. Also, shortly after the passage of Measure J, which enabled us to build the Center for Community Life, to bond measure, we were guaranteed, we being the people of Emeryville, the parents and the citizens such as myself, were guaranteed that we would be able to discuss the wisdom of closing the Annie Yates Elementary School and moving it over to the K-12 model at the San Pablo Avenue site at the Center for Community Life. And I thought that was misguided, but I was happy at least we would have a chance to weigh in on the wisdom of that in the design phase of the Center of Community Life discussions. We were guaranteed that, and Mr. Simon said at a public meeting along with the then Superintendent John Sugiyama, and it's recorded as a public record, that we would be allowed to do that. And we were never allowed to do that. That was taken away from us. There were no meetings about questioning the people, the parents and the citizens about the wisdom of closing Annie Yates, and that there should have been several meetings devoted solely to that because it's extremely consequential, that decision. And so I feel like the school board in the aggregate, and Mr. Simon specifically, contributed to sort of quashing those parents that might have felt that it was not wise to close Annie Yates Elementary School and have a...
Mr. Donahue, you have about 20 seconds if you could.
Thank you very much. So I feel like, Josh, you sort of, you sort of quashed those parents and citizens that may have not agreed with you about the wisdom of closing Annie Yates Elementary School. So I have to say that you did some policy and some decisions I think were destructive. I wasn't paying attention to all the decisions you made. I'm sure you made the lion's share of them were great and I would support, but there were a few that I think were damaging, and I feel like I have to say it now, even as I say also that I think you're a very nice man, and I do wish you all the luck in the world as you move on, and I do thank you for all the time that you gave to our district. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Simon. I would like to say that this district has endured a number of changes. Some of them very good changes, some of them not so good, some of them some very unpleasant and unhappy times. However, those of us who are here, those of us who have been here, those of us who weathered all of that, you weathered that with us. And as Ms. Lewis said, there were times when you would stop, just pop your head in the office and say, how's it going? How are you doing? We'd have a brief conversation. We always felt that you were just checking up on us, checking in on us. But you and I would always share one comment. During some of the difficult times, some of the difficult circumstances, some of the difficult people, we often said, and I want you to take it with you because I will keep it with me, those are the things that make us better.
Ms. Nice, if I might, just as the interim superintendent now, but starting as a state administrator back in 2003, when Member Dice and Member Simon were both very active members of the board, and we had a great dialogue going in those years. It was, Josh, your leadership as president along the way, too, that got us in some real difficult times and real difficult decisions. I was always impressed by your ability to listen, to take in account everybody's opinions, and be able to make decisions based on what you thought was the right thing for this district, and you consistently have always done that. You've been a leader in this district. You've been community member, parent, strong supporter of this district, and you're going to be missed. You have been a wonderful asset to this district, and I, for one, sincerely appreciate your leadership and your commitment.
Oh, please.
Gotta let you say something.
You sacrificed the
Yeah,
most.
really. We gotta hear it from you.
Hi, I'm Ruth Simon, and Dave, you're great, but I want to say that, and everybody said such wonderful things, but from what Josh has given, we've gotten back many more times. I mean, Ms. Lewis, the fact that you're here tonight, I mean, my kids were in your class years and years ago, and we just, you know, we feel like everyone here embraced us and embraced our kids, and we felt like it's a family. I want you to know that we've gotten back, I feel, more than the hours that have been put in.
Any other public comment? This is so emotional.
I got one.
Oh, please.
Hi. I was just gonna say, you've always been there for me, especially when I was younger. I used to have a lot of problems at Anna Yates, and I would always, like, when my parents couldn't be there, I would always come talk to you because you were always on campus, and it was just nice to talk to you because you were always there, and your daughter was my best friend, and I got to, like, grow up with Sarah, and just knowing the Simon family has been, like, amazing, and the fact that, it's so hard, oh my God, the fact that you've always been there for me has really made me feel comfortable, especially since I've been here since kindergarten, and I've known you for a really, really long time, really, really long time. And yeah, it's just amazing at how I've been able to, like, watch your leadership and how you just work things within the district, and I really appreciate you. And it's kind of sad that you're leaving, but I'm gonna miss you a lot. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, this is too sweet. Please.
But since we're moving it on down
Moving
the
on
line,
board. Look, get it on.
I was gonna try. I kind of felt the last time I was up here, I almost broke, and I said, well, I think I was gonna ask for some tissue, but I'm like, well, no, I think I can make it. I'm looking at Miss Lewis out there. I'm like, oh, I felt that way, and don't have me go there. But Josh, you have been everything that I could ever ask for in a board member or any type of colleague in any organization. I mean, your character, you know, is impeccable. I mean, you have a high level of integrity. You are a loving individual. You are a person who encourages others. You are a person of, sympathy. I mean, you're everything. And now, I'm gonna be honest now. I almost tried being like you a little bit. You know, when I became the board president, I'm like, after you, I'm like, okay, I gotta do a Josh. I gotta be like Josh. But I quickly found out that there's nobody like Josh. There's only one Josh. So I had to revert to just being who McGill is, you know, and work it out that way. But Josh, you have been here for me as a board member. You've been a mentor. You've been a friend. I mean, there's nothing, I say this from the sincerity of my heart, that I couldn't go to you and ask you for it that you wouldn't give me. I know you would. So, with that being said, you know, I'm going to miss you. I'm not losing a board member. I'm actually losing a friend and a brother, you know, and I appreciate you so much. And I know you're not going nowhere, so I ain't got to worry about that. I'll see you again, you know. But I just want to let you know, man, you really helped me, you know, at this position. And actually, you've helped every last one of us, you know, at this dais. and you're gonna be missed, Doc. But I know you have to go into bigger and better things. So, and Ruth, I love you. Your girls are terrific. You've always been nice. You've always been open. She liked doing that. Thank you, Joy. But this and everything this district has had good happen to it since the recall, Josh. You have been a part of the success of this district. This district is because of your work and commitment that you've put into it. So, I just hope that I can, give that same commitment and be an impact to this district as you were. Thank you and good luck.
John?
Yeah. Shaking presidential
I have a thing to do after.
privilege.
Good, yeah.
You get to go last. All right. Well, it's hard to follow that, but it was all true. I mean, people may disagree with particular policy decisions you made here or there, but I think no one can question your extraordinary commitment to this district or your centrality to the successes of this district over the last 12, 13 years? 13 years. So, I mean, that's a incredible length of servitude and commitment, and the difference between this district today and on a sound financial basis and not in receivership and not run by corrupt superintendent. The list goes on. An improved, and vibrant teaching force and a science center and a vision and a vision for the future. You've been part of all of that. So, I've just come in on the tail end of your tenure, and so I haven't even witnessed but a quarter or so of your work. But you are an incredibly thoughtful colleague, and I know that every decision you've made, you've always put the students first, and tried to think what, no matter how hard it is or how this might look in the public or, what the ramifications are going to be, we got to do what's right for the students. And that most of those conversations happen in closed-door sessions, but I'm going to violate my confidentiality oath and tell the world that's how you've acted, and I appreciate that. So I think we are going to miss you. We're going to lose you as an asset, and that's just the long and the short of it. But we're going to hope and expect that you are going to continue your participation and your support for this district, and I know you will. But that's the only solace I can take in losing your good leadership. But thank you for your service.
And I can't look at you, so just, sorry, I can't look at you or I will start crying. There's not enough that any of us can say about your dedication to our district, to our community, to our children. On a personal note, I struggled in this position quite a bit for the first year or more. You can't tell now, but I swear I made it through some meetings without crying. But not in the first year. The first year, I think I cried every meeting. and I wanted to quit. Oh, God. My ugly cry faces on TV. But you were always there. Always there. You answered the phone, or, invited us to dinner, or stayed in the parking lot for half an hour after a very late meeting to calm me down. And I cannot express enough gratitude for that. And you're not going anywhere, so we can all say goodbye, but you're not going anywhere. So we know that you will still continue to support all of us and the district and our students, and there's not enough nice things that we can say. And I appreciate you immensely.
This is rough. So I'm just gonna round it out, but as everyone has already said, and I'm gonna go without tears because I don't have to do it. But it is very it's very, very, very difficult to not have Joshua here after this evening up here because that's all I ever remember as a board member. You were here, probably helped recruit me. I don't remember, but made me understand that sometimes the personal sacrifice that it takes to ensure that we are creating all the opportunities that we have in our possession, for our kids. I don't even have kids, right? But I mean, for the kids that I don't have, but the kids I feel responsible for, you have really exemplified what that sacrifice looks like. You had 2 kids, you have a wife, you had a full-time job, a day job. We always say we have a day job, but when I thought about, similarly to Joy mentioned, I was pretty quiet my first 2 years, maybe. Just trying to understand and really, get it. And I think you were an incredible model for being very thoughtful, leading with your heart, making sure that you brought all of who you are from your day job to your night job, and ensuring that, it was with clear direction. It wasn't as scattered as we could all 5 people want to go in 5 different directions, but making sure that we came back to that center place, which is the first concern is to ensure that our students come first, and their success comes from any clarity that we can provide to them. So I think that's where, as a tremendous role model and the amount of dedication, it has only served me in my desire to be as strong of a leader in my own right, and absolutely as a member of this community to really provide that support to our most vulnerable. And I absolutely, agree with everything that's been stated. I know I don't lose you. I know you'll pick up my number, I hope. So, I think one of the blessings is that you now become this member of the public that can also stand up and speak to every possible issue, and you have insight. You know the hard, difficult challenges this district has had, will have, will rise and will fall. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast, but at the same time, you do have the compassion that this district needs and continues to give, and if not through service at this point, as a neighbor, as a property owner in this town, as one of the visionaries for all these wonderful projects we have coming, we're not losing you. We're just saying we'll see you on the other side of this table, but also look for you as we do all of our number of steps moving forward, that you're keeping your eye on us. So I do appreciate everything. And I was just going to be shorter and briefer, but much more brief. But I do have a resolution before we go to, allowing you an opportunity to speak to all these tears you've created here. But what we offer this evening is a resolution recognizing the contributions of Joshua Simon, Board of Trustees of the Emery Unified School District, and staff has done a wonderful job. Whereas Joshua Simon became a member of the Board of Trustees for the Emery Unified School District in 2001 and has worked tirelessly in the district to transform education and schooling as a vehicle for social change. And whereas Joshua Simon worked to forge a common mission for our district, summarized by our 3 guiding principles: we hold high academic, social, and professional expectations, we create a sense of family, we inspire and support innovation to end racist and classist practices. Whereas Joshua Simon has taken a leadership role in creating a true partnership between the city of Emeryville and the Emery Unified School District that has evolved into a model of city-school cooperation and collaboration, including passage of the Parcel Tax Measure A for the Emery Unified School District with overwhelming support from the Emeryville community, passage of Measure J to build the Emeryville Center of Community Life in order to develop modern school facilities that support equitable outcomes for students. And whereas Joshua Simon made himself available to parents, staff, and community members to express their concerns and ideas to improve the district and foster a positive and welcoming school climate. And whereas Joshua Simon built fiscal trustworthiness through opening up the business of the district to the public, creating transparency as a foundation for the trust that was essential for attracting private and public funding. Whereas for all these reasons and many more, many more, the Emery Unified School District is indebted to Joshua Simon and thank him for all that he has accomplished in putting the district on the road to excellence. Now be it resolved that the governing board of the Emery Unified School District hereby recognizes Joshua Simon for his sense of community, compassion, and dedication in revitalizing the Emeryville public schools and fostering a strong partnership between the city, the school district, and the Emeryville community. So with that, we give you your moment. You deserve it.
Thank you to all of you. We talk a lot about
Your mic's not on.
Tricky technology.
I want to thank everyone. I really appreciate all of the kind words and thoughts. This is an extraordinary community. You, the people in this room, the people watching, you've raised my daughters into 2 wonderful human beings who I just love. You've raised, watching Bria, watching you grow up, having you all over to the house and just spending time together, being in community. We talk about community a lot, but it's easy to forget what that means. It means all of the relationships and all of the connections and all of the conversations that go beyond just policy. It's not just the dry, what are the rules? It's all of those relationships and being part of a family. And we talk about creating a sense of family, and I really feel that. And I think that's the reason why you'll see me at future meetings. That's the reason why you'll see me at future events. You'll see me at the Senior Center on Friday the 28th for the Annie Yates Dinner Theater. For those of you watching and haven't bought your tickets yet. At the Crab Feed, this is what makes this a great place to live, is having ways to connect with each other. We will not always agree. There's no family in the world where everybody always agrees. And that's fine too. That's part of what we do. We will have communications and discussions. I'm particularly proud of actually all of the discussions that we did have about the Center for Community Life and how to do that, and all of the meetings that we actually did have and the robust discussion back and forth. I'm looking forward to living next door when it's built. I'm delighted to be paying taxes for it. And you can count on me to come back when it's time to renew the parcel tax. But I think at the end of the day, I really just appreciate all of you and what you've done for my family, raising my family and their friends, and just connecting us all around the things that we need. And I have to say thank you to Ruth. I calculated that there's been 500 meetings over the last 12 and a half years where I've not been home for dinner or home until after she was asleep. So I appreciate that and the patience, and hopefully my daughters will no longer be surprised when I come home. So I will appreciate the time with my family, but I'll also appreciate the time with all of your families. And one more thank you. I have to thank my colleagues on the board. This is an extraordinary board, and other boards in Alameda County talk about this board. I mean, to have a school administrator who knows how accounting is done in schools, and an alumni member who's grew up in this school, and a policymaker who wrote the laws and helped negotiate the laws that we're implementing, and is now, as a policymaker, sitting on the other side to see how they actually hit the ground, so that his policymaking is informed by the realities. And a person with the compassion and understanding of sports, but also understanding of people in a way that has been informed to me. And to have the student participation, to be part of a team of 6. I'm going to miss this team and being a part of this team, and miss the insights that Bria brings from the schoolyard, combined with the insights that Melody brings from, having been a student many years ago. So this is an amazing board that we have, and I'm really looking forward to seeing who will take my place. I do think it's healthy every 12 or 13 or 14 years for new blood to come onto the board. I think that's a good thing, but I also feel responsible to still be available, to be able to tell you why things were done before future board members got here, and at least have my perspective. So really thank you to all of you, and this has been very kind, and but so that you all can go home to your families, I'm going to leave it at that. And thank you all again for all. And I do have to say one last thing, and thank the voters of Emeryville, because this school district, the voters, the business community, the city, the neighbors, the residents, all have come together to make sure that we have the resources. I calculated, of the 13 budgets I've been involved with, the state cut funding in 9 of those years. So for the community to step up in the way that it has, it's just tremendous. So thank you to all of you.
Well, with that, we do have this resolution in front of us. Who would like to make that motion, get us going?
Is that a roll call?
Well, we'll accept it first,
Well,
adopt it first.
I'll make the motion to accept the resolution for Joshua Simon, Board of Trustee, Emeryville Unified School District, and his recognition.
Awesome. Any objections? I doubt there'll be anything there. May we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Bria Muller Williams.
Present.
Mr. DeWin.
Oh, yes.
Mr. DeWin.
Yes.
Ms. Dice.
Yes.
Mr. Affelt.
Yes.
Ms. Ash.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Simon.
Yeah, I'll abstain. That's sweet. Well, Joshua, this is your final evening with us as an active board member. I want to hear you going with a whole lot of things tonight. So we do appreciate you, and we're gonna you're gonna stay with us until it's all over. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we'll actually now move on to item in my agenda froze. Thank you. On to reports. We have item J. One is any members from CSEA present to make a report? Any members from ETA to make a report? NEH PTO? And we do have this evening, we have a presentation from a report from NEH School Site Council. Good evening, Mr. Gibb.
Josh, I can tell you that when I knew nobody, he gave me his card, and he did have breakfast with me. So he was the first person I met in Emeryville, and that was nice of him because I didn't know anybody. So thanks, Josh. You definitely comforted me moving into the school district, so thank you. I want to thank the board for giving the site council this time. Because you gave us this time, I'm just going to go straight down the list, and I'm going to try to be very concise and leave a couple minutes for questions. The intent of this is not to give you any decisions, but to give you a taste of what's coming so that when we get all of the information in May and issue the final reports, recommendations for the LCAP and for the single plan, that we will have a very realistic chance not only of getting items approved, but we want to operate in a way that all the stakeholders feel like their voices got heard. That means English language learners, that means PTO, SSC, teachers union, and the board, because we want to be able to say not only to the parents that the board heard us, but next year I would like to walk around as I talk to parents and say, hey, the board actually did listen to you last year. Let's give them some love too, okay? So that's where I'm going there. The first item is discipline. Because we will have a new principal next year, we didn't go deep into discipline because that new principal, of course, is going to have philosophies and we need to work with whoever that person is. There were two items from Seth's law, which was passed by the state of California in 2012 that focuses on bullying, that were very relevant and that are mandatory. And those elements were a specific timeline for initial bullying complaints that would be clearly posted. The other one was the appeals process, which there is an appeals process. However, I'd say 95% of people don't know. The administrators may know, but the parents and children and teachers don't seem to know. What we would like is to have the appeals process handed to someone at the initial informal meeting. Not that they'll always file an appeal, but they'll have an envelope that will explain to them what the process, that should be translated in English and Spanish. And what we want to do is have a shorter timeline for the initial complaint, and if there's an appeal, to have a shorter timeline to get that heard so that problems do not fester and go on for months, because that turns into other bigger issues. And we want to kind of stop the kick at the K so that towards the end of the year, we've resolved a lot of issues before they've gotten to be big. Okay, so moving to the next one. Thank you to the financial officers who've committed to give a detailed budget by April 10th to the SSC. The SSC has promised to share that with the SSC of the secondary school, also Principal Shavrin, the DLAC committee, the teachers union, and the coaches. And the reason we ask for a very specific budget is usually when people ask for items, they're asking for a teacher or a program or a coach. Some people think that costs $40,000. Other people think it costs $120,000. Other people think it costs $500,000. Nobody seems to have the same idea. So we need to be able to get on the same page so that whatever decisions are made, everyone has an understanding of what it actually costs the district. And so when the board does this, make their decision, it's easier to explain to people why we could or could not afford certain things. So hopefully that will bring people together. The next item, the vice chairman had been to some community meetings, and it was estimated that between $13,000 and $14,000 is spent per student in Emeryville. One of the things that I will be working with Director Allen is determining exactly what that pays for per student. One, in terms of teachers, also in terms of administrators, also in terms of programs and services, and also outcomes. Basically, people want to know where the money's going so they have a better understanding. The next group of items comes specifically from the DLAC committee. As chairman, I met with the DLAC committee for 3 hours on their items. I also spoke with Principal Chavrin. We hope to work with Principal Chavrin and Anna Yates together for our proposals to improve the overall experience for English language learners. We know that the district probably doesn't have enough money to hire people for Anna Yates and separate staff for the secondary school. So we want to find some commonalities and get a win there somehow so we can improve that overall experience. What they emphasized were after-school programs, tutoring, professional development, specifically in English language arts, helping teachers, all teachers, understand how to explain things for the benefit of English language learners, making sure all written communications were in Spanish and that robocalls were translated into Spanish, and getting a district officer somewhere in the district who was bilingual. Some of those things happen some of the time, but they don't happen all the time. So we want to work together to have those things happen all the time. Another thing, when we use the term college ready, I just asked the parents, what's college ready to you? College ready to them were the top 500 schools, not any college or doing just as okay for an English language learner. They want their kids to be able to go to Berkeley or Mills College or Cal Poly like everybody else. So we want to work together in the plan to make sure that we have steps for an English language learner to still become a high achieving student by the time and we have to start at K, and we have to support them all the way through 12. So we're going to be, we have scheduled a special time so that we can get direct input from them and write their plans directly from their mouths into the school site plan. So we won't be summarizing what they want. We'll be working with them directly. Next item is programming. Just really quickly, virtually everyone that I've talked to wants a bona fide PE teacher. Basically, they have their concerns around safety, attendance being outnumbered at Anna Yates because of the K-8 nature, injuries to teachers and students, and health concerns. I'm not going to go into details there, but those were the main concerns, and that's a very, very clear want. Also, there's a significant group that we did experience the untimely death of our music teacher. A significant group of people wants that program replaced. And then the last item, I've spoken before in public comments, but now we've brought it to committee, is the full-time tech teacher. Given that the SAT and the ACT are moving online, and also the testing in California, although there's very limited testing this year, next year and the years after, pretty much all the testing will be on a computer. Many kids don't even have a computer at home. I'm happy to report, thank you, Ryan, for his unbelievable, really unbelievable work, and not just installing computers, but like having some kick-butt software put on those things so that's actually, you know, state-of-the-art machine when the kids log in. The kids are bringing their parents in the morning for the parents that aren't computer literate. Also, there are older administrators that are working in the office that are coming in asking the computer teacher to give them updates on how to use the computer. So that unbelievable work by Ryan has already paid dividends as far as immediate impact. The kids, if you go in there during recess, they're constantly trying to get into that computer room. So we have $41,000, thank you to the financial officer for letting us know, of Title I funds. We voted to support the current assistant technology position, bumping it up to a full-time position, and we're willing to dedicate $20,000 to $30,000 of the money under Title I towards that. It would be a school-wide program because bumping that up would hit virtually every student at the school. It wouldn't isolate just one group. And also, we'll be talking on it at a later meeting. I think it would allow us to spotlight that program and to fundraise from the corporate community, but we'll speak on that at a different issue. Last issue is substitute teaching pool. So we would like to have an additional floating substitute. We did talk about this and had an informal vote in support of it at the last meeting. Basically, students get split. Sometimes they're 8th graders in a kindergarten classroom, 5th graders in a first grade. And overall, we want to have a better situation there. The DLAC parents are particularly concerned because substitutes don't always have the skills to teach English language learners. And so if you can imagine, we already have an obligation to bring them up to speed. If we switch 6 or 7 substitutes over a 2-month period, that can do a lot of damage to an English language learner. So that's a focus. And any questions or comments?
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Gibb? I just wanted to thank you for providing the detail and the context. I think this is very helpful for us. As you can imagine, we get so many pieces of information throughout the year, and it's great just to get revisit some, and also to understand some of the rationale and thinking too. So, in such a concise way, you did provide a lot of information. So I just wanted to appreciate that.
Thank you.
Really. Any other board comments or questions for Mr. Good?
And one, I do have to give a public thank you to all of the staff. Since the beginning of the year, I have been going around asking very difficult questions. We don't need to cover issues in the district, but we all know there have been issues. And trying to get both sides of the story, and people have been forthcoming. Some of the stuff's been hard to listen to. Some of the stuff's been hard to ask, and it's hard to look impartial when you're asking difficult questions. But everyone has, for the most part, been very helpful, and Superintendent Quinn has been great in giving me guidance. So we're past the stage of asking a lot of tough questions, and now we're into the stage of writing a document. Hopefully, that will bring parties together. So thank you for the patience. It hasn't been easy, and I know it hasn't been easy on the other side of some of the site council's questions, but we felt like it had to be done. But I respect everybody for working with us on that.
Great.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Gibb, before you go head down, yes, I want to echo President Deitch's comment and appreciate the very large volume of conversations you've been having and spending a lot of time talking to parents and teachers and administrators and gathering this and stepping up and doing all the work you have been doing to lead the site council. So I think it's a benefit to the district for the work you've been doing. And on the technology issue, I just wanted to make sure you're aware, which I think you are, but the community watching more broadly, we did have a retreat this past weekend, and the board, with staff support, did select and determine that the thrust of this district going forward will be a college prep with a technology thrust. So we very much want to bring into our curriculum the notion of computer literacy and making sure that our students in the Bay Area, uniquely situated here, home of Pixar and Leapfrog, etc., are taking advantage of all the opportunities that they can, so that we can make sure that we're graduating them college and career ready, but also with an extra boost up on technology. So thank you also for highlighting that issue, and not just tonight, but earlier in your conversations.
I do want to emphasize, thank you for saying the Bay Area, but specifically the East Bay. Right now would be the time. There's the Hidden Genius Project, which was invited to the White House last month. Someone I went to school with is on the board there. There's also Black Girls Code on the cover of the San Francisco Chronicle. There's a full-page article about another girls' organizations. The African American Project in Oakland, the White House assistant on Obama's African American Male Initiative recently visited Oakland. So I think we're better equipped to deliver a better product in terms of a technical student because we have the student for the whole day and the whole year versus organizations that only meet for a few weeks over the summer. So if we can execute that plan, Ryan's done an unbelievable job, but if we just as a community come together, I believe that next year we can be on the cover of a newspaper and we can be out there fundraising and really making everyone look good. It certainly wouldn't be the SSC's effort. I mean, it would be a community effort, but also it would highlight our kids. We want the kids to be the rock stars in the district, not boring chairman. So that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'll just note that we're on J5. Thank you. Okay, any report from Emery Secondary School PTO? I'm trying to keep up. Student representatives report. Good evening.
Oh, sorry. Good evening. I have a couple of things. So our associated student body meets every Tuesday for our A period class, well, homeroom class, and basically so far, past couple of Tuesdays, we've been talking about our Pennies for Patients charity event that we're doing. So we put various boxes in classrooms and the main office for kids to drop in donations that supports the Lymphoma and Leukemia Society, and it is coming to a close, so we will be done March 31st, I believe. And yeah, then there's prom and ESS grad night for seniors, and prom is, they have chosen the theme for prom, and the theme is going to be Claire de Lune, and grad night is coming up, so the seniors and juniors are kind of excited. Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
They are. And then our freshmen are starting to plan their Eastergrams. So what they're going to do, well, what me and the rest of the freshmen are going to get together, and we're going to talk about what we're going to, who's going to be selling them, how much we're going to be selling them for, when we're going to start selling them, and we're basically, it's more like a fundraiser for the 9th grade, or freshmen. And yeah, that's basically it. Then there's our sports, and we have female soccer and softball going on. We have male baseball, and we have track. And right now, all the teams are doing very well. There was actually a game for softball and baseball yesterday, and I heard that I think the boys won. The girls did not win, but it was raining, so we're going to let that slide. But yeah, woohoo, go Spartans. And yeah, that's basically it for my report today.
Can I ask a question?
I have a question.
Yeah. Brittany, do you know where the sports teams are playing, like the softball, the baseball team? What parks?
Yeah, yesterday they played. We had an away game.
Mm-hmm.
They played at Livermore Valley Prep, so it was in Livermore.
Okay.
You're talking about like our home field?
Yes. Where are the home fields located? Do you know?
Like
And for what about soccer? Neither one either.
I have no clue.
Okay.
I'm not on the sports team.
No,
I will,
okay.
but I can find out that information for you.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Okay.
Oh, wait. One more. Sorry, I forgot to write it down. Today, our associated student body and a couple of other students went to We Day, which was hosted in the Oracle Arena in East Oakland. And We Day is basically when people come out and they tell their stories. And you can get in, you can't really buy a ticket to We Day. You receive a ticket by doing things for your community. So Emery was invited, and we went and we had a really amazing time. We got to listen to people's stories and how they made a change in the world and how we can make a bigger change than what we've already started.
Okay, great. That's great.
I went.
I have a quick
Nice.
question.
Nice.
The charity that you guys are working with, where can members of the community drop off donations?
In the main office.
In the main office.
Yeah, I think that would be better for you guys.
Okay, thanks.
And you have until March 31?
March 31st.
All right. I think I'm going to go through some stuff. All right. Any other questions for our student rep? All right. Thank you so much. We miss you when you're not here.
Yeah,
You have stories. You
Yeah,
have
really.
info. All right. So we'll now move on to superintendent's report.
Yes, I have a couple items. Number one, Dr. Karen Steele, our special ed director, was pleased to let me know that 2 students from CSU East Bay are now working, that they're currently working on special ed credentials, and they're working in our learning centers with special ed staff and students. They'll be doing this until the end of the school year, which is a wonderful contribution for us. It's welcome support, and we're hopeful that this will bring future students and perhaps student teachers in our special ed programs to the district. Next, Ms. Juliette Dunn, our Wellness Food Services Director, has reported on, I think she told the board, a recent audit of our student nutrition program was taking place by the State Nutrition Department, a very extensive and thorough review, and she's pleased to inform us that the district passed this important process with flying colors. So we're very grateful for that. And lastly, Ryan Choate, our IT director, has exciting news to report, and I've asked him to briefly inform the board of latest developments, as his excitement is one that is hard to replace.
Expect a cartwheel.
So I wanted to bring to your attention that we now have all of the computer equipment out in the field. All the students and teachers have new equipment. 2 weeks ago, the high school's lab was completed. And I wanted to show you a few pictures of that. So here is the ESS lab before. As you can see, there were a bunch of wires hanging out all over the place. It was kind of a safety hazard. And so if you can see the stop, don't go this way, turn around sign. It was in need of an upgrade as well. These old systems, you can see they're kind of torn apart in the front. The cases were falling apart, being destroyed. And so these are the new tables that we purchased with the funds from the new Emeryville, Center for Community Life, the ECCL budget came in and purchased those. And this is the lab as we're building it out. Cleaned it up, cleaned the floor, got all the gum off of the floor. Looks nice, nicer. This is the new lab that we've put together. With the new tables, it's a lot cleaner, it's a lot more conducive to learning. Computers are faster, better. They have the suite of software, the Adobe Master Collection, all of the AutoCAD applications installed. This is another view. Now we've since gone under and zip tied all those cables underneath, but all of the systems are Mac Minis, dual boot, Windows and Macintosh. Both sides have the same sets of software. Kids seem to be really excited about the new lab. This is another view of the lab. And I just wanted to kind of point out, we also got a MacBook Pro cart, and Ms. Stillman has been using that in her classroom, as well as other teachers. So we've got theoretically 2 labs at ESS currently. And so at the moment we have the MacBook Pro cart with 30 computers. We have the ESS lab with 32 computers. We have the Anna Yates lab with 32 computers. As well, we've got 3 iPad carts, and then we've got 6 carts of Chromebooks coming. So we've increased the technology by quite a bit.
Good. So Ryan, this was a part of the funds that we had allocated for technology
That's
use?
exactly where all of these funds came from. That's correct. I just wanted to share with you and report out that all of that has been completed. And now it's on to.
Do you have any funds left over for?
I
other
do.
okay,
Yeah,
good.
absolutely. I've actually kind of hid some in my back pocket, not hid, but held on to them just for Common Core testing and making sure that we had the right equipment. The next step will be to get staff new computers. I wanted to get teachers and students new, equipment, get them up to date, and now we're going to move on to upgrading the staff computers.
So is there a need to train teachers on the new technology?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
We plan on doing
Yeah,
that?
We do plan on doing
Okay.
that. That's in the plan that Anna Creta has been putting together.
I just wanted to compliment you on the website. I don't know if people have not checked this out. It's like magic.
Really?
On the website, you can push a button and you can instantaneously translate the Emory Unified website into 60 different languages. It's just amazing. So thank you for
Yeah,
doing that.
no problem.
I'm going to try to convince my own company to do it.
It's extremely easy. But you do have to put a tag on every single page, though. And the fact that we have a small website, which.
But the fact that you did it is fabulous. So
Thank
thank
you.
you for everything you're doing. It's really great work.
Good job.
The other thing, I wanted to thank Richard Gibb for coming in. He devoted a day to setting up the Annie Yates lab, and it made a difference. It really helped out. So
Thank you, Richard.
Good. No.
Oh, yeah. So we've actually gone into a partnership with OTX West. They have an internet connection for parents and families who have never had a broadband internet connection. I believe it's $20 a month, $10 a month for the internet connection. As well, they get a free computer. The other thing that OTX is doing, they will provide a free computer to any student in the Emeryville Unified School District that shows up and takes a 3-hour class with their parents. And so we're really trying to get technology in the hands of the students and at home and give them internet connectivity. So that's a new program that I'd like to.
Who is OTX?
OTX is Oakland Technology Exchange, and they serve only Oakland Unified School District.
Right.
But we've gone into a partnership with them, and they're going to provide the same services they provide
Is that
for
a
Oakland
nonprofit,
students.
or
It is a
It's
nonprofit.
not part of the district.
No, it's not part of the district. Yeah, they're a separate entity. Thank you. Appreciate it.
The computers in the ESS computer lab are awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting some feedback from some of the students and hearing how.
Awesome work.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Good job, Ryan.
And that concludes my report. Thank you, Ryan.
No, that's a great, thanks for that report. So, I know, that's so true. So, board president's report, I just say we just keep moving. Just keep moving. That's all. I'm about keep moving forward. That's where I'm at right now. Yes, we have a number of activities coming on, and a number of people have been asked to participate in superintendent community panels. So make sure if you haven't indicated, you get that information to Ms. Lisa Emery as soon as possible. We'd like to get that squared away. We have a number of activities going on in the next few months. So I think my motto is right now is keep moving. So that's what we're doing. All right, so we'll now move on to our consent calendar. Thank you for the larger view as well. Consent calendar, we have items 1 through 4. Are there any items? And I appreciate the resolution that staff put together for item 4. Any of the items need to be pulled this evening? Any questions on 1 through 4?
I did on 2.
So we'll pull item 2. Perhaps since it's such a brief list, let's go to personnel actions.
Yeah, Ms. Harrell, thanks for coming up. Can you tell us what grade Ms. Edwards has been teaching or where she's been
She
teaching?
hasn't been. She was on leave of absence all of last year, and she requested a second year this year. So this is her second year where she hasn't been in the classroom.
I see. Okay, she's just decided that she's not going to continue. And
Correct.
yeah. How many years was she with the district?
Now, that number I don't have. It's been under 10.
But still a teacher of some significant experience that we're losing.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, and we have a plan to move forward and fill a position, or we'd already done that now
This
that
year,
she's
we
been
had
on leave?
one of the temporary teachers that we hired was hired for her position, so she was on leave. And now I've posted, in another day or two, I'll be able to post publicly the K-8 elementary teaching positions, but I have posted them internally, as I'm required to do for the first 5 days.
Okay. So we're essentially filling her position with this new posting that's coming along.
For coming next year, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question
On the warrants?
On the warrants.
Item 1, warrants.
Yes. Just wanted to ask, what service does Performance Fact Inc. Serve to the district? Oh, you did?
Yeah, that was our retreat.
That's what I'll have to get back to the board on.
Okay. All right.
Can we take that one off then? I mean, till we get back
I can tell
on
you,
that?
I believe that the consultant that we used during our retreat, Mutu, and I'll mess up his last name.
Fakbai.
Thank you. That's that service.
Okay. All right.
Can,
So you want to know what the length of that work is, or that?
yeah, I guess I'd like to know a little bit more.
So, do we have a
Underline
problem
it.
with actually bringing this warrant back? Thank you, Ms. Allen.
Member Dice, I think from what I understand, this is a warrant of something that's already been paid. So, Ms. Allen, you want to speak to it?
Yes, so this work has already been done, and this is the money that we actually owe him. So this is the consultant that worked with the board in terms of the retreat, and he also worked with cabinet in terms of providing the 3 goals and starting the process of a strategic plan. And I guess he also did some also consulting and planning with Dr. Lindo.
Any questions?
I'm gonna leave this one.
Yeah, you should. Any other questions?
No, I'm sorry. No.
Thank you, Ms. Allen.
So the answer is, this is work that's been incurred and that we owe.
Right.
Paying off an old invoice. That appears with it. That's what I heard.
Any other questions on the warrants? What about items 3 or 4? Everybody's good with those? Awesome. So we'll have a motion for 1 through 4. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Member Ash?
Yes.
Member Affelt?
Yes.
President Dice?
Yes.
Member DeWin?
Yes.
Member Williams-Muller?
Great. So we'll now move on to, thank you, everybody. We'll move on to item L1, 2014-15. We're already there, academic calendar.
Yes, this is an annual, we come to the board with this about this time each year, and this is something that the staff has reviewed and is recommending, very similar to the current year calendar, with, of course, the adjustments made for 2014-15, and we're asking board to approve.
Okay. Any questions, board members?
Any significant difference? What are the difference from this year to?
It is my understanding there's no significant differences. It's pretty much the same as it was this year.
Thing?
So the only thing that I have a question about is, 'cause most of these holidays they come when they come. The ones that seem to float the most potentially is President's Day week off and Easter week off, if that's what we call it, the spring break. And where that impacts parents is you got to find a camp for your child. during that week. And so it's much easier for parents of our district to find camps if those weeks fall when either Oakland or Berkeley, one of our surrounding big districts, are off also. And, you know, this year, I think, for example, too bad Joy's out, because I think Head Over Heels is going to save us. Our spring break is not when Oakland or Berkeley is out, and so no, there aren't that many camps out. Yeah, so that would be my only question to staff and putting this together is, do we even know? And they move back. I see the April, for example, is the first week of April. I'm guessing either Oakland or Berkeley are out that week. I don't know, but do we know if how those two holiday periods or breaks line up with our surrounding colleague districts? We don't know.
My understanding is that the district has consistently taken the week after after Easter for its spring break. That Oakland had previously done this, and that this year Oakland made a switch. So I'm not sure. We're being consistent with what we've done. Is all I can report to.
Mm-hmm.
And we normally share our calendar, our adopted calendar, with the rec, for instance, right? So the city, if they had a program, for instance, I don't know what they do during that time. Do they have anything anymore? But I mean, if that became
They
an option.
typically.
Ms.
have
Allen,
camps.
do we know the past practices of where students engage themselves during these two breaks?
Sleep. I hear sleep over here. Yeah, that's basically what happens at my house.
In terms of the recreation center, they try to, during the breaks, to have programs that are open because we share the calendar. I know during the February break, the seniors usually take their senior trip during our February break up to Tahoe or Reno. And for other students, they enjoy the relaxation, which I see on Bria's face.
What about the elementary school students? Because I can understand the high school students.
The elementary school students, the rec center usually keeps the recreation department open. So they keep that open, and then if there are any parents who don't, like their children don't participate during the school year, they'll either have a program or a special rate for them to come during that week.
Any other? So,
Yeah, I'm not opposed to the calendar that's been proposed. I guess I would just ask in the future that staff pay attention to that and see what's going on, particularly with those 2 weeks.
I will make sure we do. Thank you.
and this is up for approval this evening if the board so chooses.
I move that we adopt the 2014-15 school year calendar for the Emery Unified School District.
I'd second that, actually. Any objections to that? 3, 4.
No objection.
Great, no objections. So we have an adopted calendar. We'll now move on to item L2, Emery, senior grad night field trip. I'm so excited. My niece is gonna be gone for a couple of days. You know you gotta come up. I know it's yours.
I see you sporting your T-shirt now this time, huh? Oh man.
So Bria put on her hoodie, but Bria also has on a T-shirt. So if I can for a minute, I'd just like to talk about We Day. So we ran 52 deep today up in Oracle, and it was the most amazing thing. So we had the pleasure of hearing Magic Johnson, Selena Gomez, Martin Luther King III, and a whole Seth Rogen, and it was a whole list, just star after star, humanitarian after humanitarian, and the kids they will probably never ever, because it's my first time in years that I've ever seen so many people that had so much positive influence on the students, and it was just amazing. So we are.
So can I ask a question while you're doing that? So I heard Bria say that you had to be invited to come to this
Okay,
event?
so pretty much the schools earned their way.
Okay.
So
Wow.
when I was interviewed, and we are a part of the San Francisco Chronicle, so some of us are trying to get there. We've gotten there, right, as of today. So yeah, you got your San Francisco Chronicle? Okay, so because of the community service projects that we do,
Okay.
so currently Emery Secondary and our associated student body, we're now up to 6 community service projects a year. So they are making a change and making a difference in other people's lives.
Okay.
So when she talked about the Pennies for Patients, that is for the month of March, and that is to benefit the leukemia and lymphoma. So they're helping kids to get blood transfusions who can't afford it.
So the work
So that's
that
what the
they do.
Pennies for Patients is about. So we have quite a few of them. And I think today, by our next ASB meeting, I think because of today, they have like a whole list of different things that they want to do to make a change.
Good.
So it was amazing.
So did we have to submit something to an organization for us to get interviewed, or how?
So I did have to go through a process,
Okay.
and I was interviewed, and we were selected, and we were in the house. So it was 1,800 students from around the Bay Area, and various schools, and Emery Secondary, Go Spartans. We were up in the house. It was amazing. It was amazing. Exhausting, but amazing. Back to grad night. Same trip every year. Same thing we're going to do. Any questions?
I like your
Yeah.
approach.
I did. I got a couple. So how many students are going?
So currently, I think
32.
we have 47 students registered to go that have made their first payment.
How many chaperones?
We have 5 chaperones
Okay, that's about 5. Okay.
and a waiting list.
Okay.
Right, and a waiting list.
And you guys are taking the bus?
We are taking a bus because of the large amount of students.
One bus?
One bus. 62 passenger. Walker tours. Students are paying. We're staying at Anaheim Plaza Hotel. We'll be going to Disneyland
And you guys are leaving
the
on-
15th,
And you coming back?
18th.
Do you always stay away 3 nights?
We do.
Mhm.
We do Disneyland all night long. Got to be young to hang in there. My 4th year. Yeah, go me. And we also do Universal Studios. And on the way back home, we do Magic Mountain. Except last year, the kids were so tired, we just came on home. So we'll see what happens this year.
And you're raising all the money?
We have raised money for grad night, and then the students compensate the rest of the trip.
Okay.
What's their out of cost pot?
I think altogether they pay $350, and because we've raised quite a bit of money, it usually is $450.
Good job as far as raising money.
Thank you.
Do you get parental permission for each of the students, or what? How to?
We get parental permission for everything we do.
Okay. That's good. I think you mean on the permission form where you describe the appeal process. I think there's a typo. I think you mean April 28th instead of May 28th.
So I
Just
didn't
take a look
submit
at
the form,
Yeah.
but what is it saying?
Just take a look at that.
I'm representing Mr. A.
Yeah.
Weiner and Mr. J.
All
Weiner.
right. There's
And
just
myself.
The last page, page 3 of 3, there's a description of how students can appeal if they don't get to go. And it says they have to file their appeal between Monday, May 28th and Friday, May 2nd. Appeals will not be accepted after May 2nd. So to the extent that you're providing this information to students, if it's the same form,
So
I think you want to change the Monday, May 28th to Monday, April 28th.
Okay, I'll
So
call
that-
that to
So they
their
know when to
attention.
file the appeal.
Well, actually, I can even go a step further. Your information on your field trip information, the date of planned trip says May 15th to May 18th. So you might want to get that changed as well.
I think, but isn't that right?
Is it May?
It is May.
Oh, okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And that is the.
May 15th
the
to,
18th.
did I say April?
I don't think you said it right.
May,
Oh,
no,
okay.
no,
I think you
you
said it
said
right.
May. It was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the time for the
So-
appeal is just in case any student wants to file an appeal, April 28th, right, to May 2nd. And then you got to have it in by then, and then you'll decide the appeals in early May and take off May 15th. That's how it's supposed to work. Okay.
Any other questions about the trip? I'm excited to see my niece go. She's happy. I'm happy. All
Her
right.
niece is the class president.
Yeah, she's busy.
Yeah, she's doing a very good job.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that. I tell
Yes.
you, it takes
They're
a
all
village.
doing good.
It takes
Any
a
more
village.
questions?
Any other questions for about the trip? Wish them wish them the best.
Yes.
And we do need to approve this trip.
So can I also tell you that they also raised the money for their down payment for prom?
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, they're on the ball.
And I've donated, an option too.
Oh yeah, we're gonna do a raffle.
Tell me, let me
Bria will
know.
be announcing a raffle real soon.
I'll be at Costco this weekend. I have offered to purchase some televisions so that they can raffle.
Wait.
So-
Televisions?
Well,
I heard
she's-
it.
my
I heard
niece is working
TV.
on the second one, so she's
Oh.
working. If she does something for me, but but
Oh, nice.
Must be
definitely.
nice to have an aunt like you.
Well, it's a sale at Costco, and I can get some points. So,
So I'll take one of the TVs, and we'll raffle off the other one.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the
And we'll get a
balance,
third one.
Balance. No, but definitely, I think the senior class has worked, and not I'm partial for sure, but definitely the students are working really hard. So
They
I
really
think
are.
all donations and support for our students is always welcomed.
So can I also mention? I think Anna Creed is a 7-way tie for #1 student in this class. I think it's 7 or 9. That's all in first place.
Bless them.
Yeah, it's a record.
That's a record.
They're first place for
For first place.
for valedictorian. We have 9 valedictorians.
I think it might be 7.
7.
It's somewhere between 7 and 9.
It's still more
But
than
sometimes
one.
we have 1, we have 2, but we've never had 7 or 8 or 9. And most of them are best buddies.
Yeah, they are.
So it's interesting.
Which is great. Yeah.
And then tomorrow they will know who received the Cal Berkeley. Yeah, they're all like on pins and needles. So the day was good for them because
The
most
Cal
of
Berkeley.
the
what?
incentive award,
That's great.
And what is that?
where they get a full ride for Cal Berkeley.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very good.
Some of them are tuition and room and board, and some of them are tuition. Whatever it is, they're very, very excited.
And how many of our students might get such an award?
So it's only one that's offered. And how many applied? 6 of them? 5 of them. So it's interesting.
We
Bria,
look
keep you
forward-
posted.
Yeah, let us know
Forward.
what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
They're doing some big things.
They are.
We're a small campus, but we're doing some big things.
I heard it's good.
Tiny
Very
but
good
mighty.
class. Very solid.
Yes.
Move to approve.
All right, Scott. Thank you.
I approve.
Second.
Any objections? I had a third actually, so there was a second from Joy and a third from Miguel. So thank you so much for presenting.
Well, thank
You're
you.
solid. You're waiting for yours, huh? Yeah, she's waiting for. So no objections. We're Anaheim bound. Thank you, Ms. Collins. Appreciate it. So we're now going to move on to item L3, LCAP LCFF update. Ms. Allen.
So this, well, actually, I just want to make one comment on the prior topic in terms of students. So as you noted, the cost is $350 per student, and I think we have 2 students who need sponsorships. Well, actually, I will sponsor a full student, and so if we have any donations for this second student, I'd appreciate that. Yes, we're down to 2 now. So yeah, so one of them I'm sponsoring. I'll do the full sponsorship, and then the other one we're collecting donations to make the full sponsorship.
It says $300.
$350, yes. So I needed to, but thank you for that plug. So I come before you in terms of giving you an LCAP and LCFF update, and mostly process in terms of LCAP, in terms of where we are to date. So we're at the phase now where stakeholders have given a list of what they would like to see improved in the schools, or they would like to see more. And so this is, the next phase has been to go to groups and actually categorize and think about what are the high leverage needs based on data, and also based on what student outcomes will be. So as you know, the concentration funds are to definitely think about how we'll do things differently for students who are second language learners, and also those who are social lower economic students. However, because we're a Title I district, for the most part, most of our students actually will benefit from it. So we have, so what you all have in front of you or before you, or what I've attached in terms of documents, has been some of the conversations that have happened in terms of what that looks like for stakeholders. So it's really what matters and why. So although they look at their list, and then we have a conversation about what is it that are high needs, like if something needs to happen immediately, what are the high needs, and what would give the most leverage in terms of seeing different outcomes from either their children or for students in terms of academics or social emotional learning. And so in that process, we'll take those high leverage needs, and so and go to stakeholder groups in terms of giving recommendations or consultation. So I'll refer to the in terms of our calendar where we are. Yeah, the categorization. Yesterday we met as a budget advisory committee, and tomorrow there'll be the finally the parent advisory council. So in the LCAP process, we have stakeholders participate two ways. They participate as advisors, or they participate as consultants. And in the advisors, you must have the district advisory committee that are parents, and you also have your DLAC. So we have a district English language advisory council. And so in the advisory, those groups actually look at some of the LCAP needs, or what as we develop the plan, and give comments and recommendations and advice to that. In terms of physically writing the plan, the cabinet and the Common Core Steering Committee will physically do some of that work, because it has to do with matrix. Over the next 3 years, what kind of data are you going to use? How do you know if you're doing well, et cetera? And so those groups, such as your budget advisory committee, teaching staff, your unions, are what you call your consultants. So they give their expertise in terms of what does that look like and how does that move student performance. So in the physical actual document, cabinet and the Common Core Steering Committee will physically write that, but we'll still receive recommendations from the two parent advisories, and still continue to receive consultation from some of the other groups, including parents who are not on any of the advisory councils. I also have in front of you the parents who graciously have volunteered to participate, and so we're in the process to have representation from Emery Secondary School, English learner parents, special education, Anna Yates, and also I'm looking for more English learner, or from the DLAC, parents who represent other languages and cultures. So currently the two parents that we have students who are Spanish speakers, and I know there are other parents who want to participate, and they're trying to look at their schedule to see if they're able to do so. They have also placed, so currently we have 10 parents, to make sure, 9 parents. One is confirming her time. We have 9 parents who are participating. And hopefully tomorrow will be the first meeting, but we'll probably have to schedule meetings when everyone can attend, because I know, for instance, Bria's grandmother is part of that, and so I know it's her birthday, so she's out of town, and we have a couple other parents where their work schedules may conflict, but they really want to be a part of that committee. I've also included an agenda that will give give the committee a welcome and think about, norms in terms of how do we act and behave in a group. Also, there's a couple videos that I'll show because while there's some parents on the committee who are more familiar with LCAP and LCFF, there are others who aren't. They've heard of it, but they're not that familiar. So there are a couple of videos that they'll listen to and then have conversations and then begin to start to give recommendations and look at some of the either high-stake needs that have already been developed or in terms of the group that they represent, what are some of the high-stake needs that have come forth from their groups. The other consultation, or the other groups that I need to update the calendar and still need to find dates in terms of our unit members, our bargaining units, we are in negotiations with both CSEA and ETA. And I think after, hopefully towards the end, they'll have the opportunity to, I don't know if it'll happen within our sessions or if it'll happen towards the end as we try to TA our contracts. But they have to also respond to the plan. And hopefully most of the members are giving engagement in their other meetings that we meet with them. And then towards the end, they'll actually look at more of a final draft versus, so they can give their final words in terms of our unit members. And then our students have met, and I'm still working with Celeste to get the notes from the students, and then they'll have some more meetings actually to highlight their high-level needs as well. Because initially all the groups just gave a list, but now they need to go back and categorize them in the 3 bucket areas, and also state what those high-leverage needs are. So I'm thinking, so that's basically where we are right now. And in terms of the budget advisory, we'll be looking at the notes from other stakeholders and thinking about how the budget is developed, but also and coming forth with high priorities. And I think that group will come next at the next board meeting with in terms of the LCAP or the LCFF update.
So what would be coming to us next?
But the budget advisory committee.
Regarding the LCAP plan?
Mm-hmm. So because that's one of the groups in terms of develop. So the calendar that was provided earlier, as they develop the budget, it's more of an idea of thinking about what are some high level needs and giving some rationalization. Right. So just like any other group who's either come before you or you've seen it on notes, it's just giving you more information in terms of what stakeholders are stating.
So, 10 minutes, do you know the dollar amount you have to spend on the concentration?
Supplemental and concentration.
Yeah, supplemental and concentration.
It's a little over 300,000, is it? Around 300. Mark has the specific
number. But do we know
for
each bucket, because each bucket has to be spent on a different group of kids?
It does. So you don't necessarily have to divide it in buckets. You just have to make sure that the services that you provide for those students will make a difference, and they look different than what they have now. So it's either more of the service or it's a different type of service to create positive or improved learning outcomes.
But the service that you provide should go against the dollars that the LCFF is giving you in supplemental and concentration dollars. So I guess my question is, do you plan on matching your provided services for both of those subgroups with the dollars that will be allocated towards those subgroups?
You mean dividing amongst the subgroups, or I just want to be clear to your question.
Concentration. So will you be showing the services that will be provided by the supplemental dollars and the concentration dollars?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. So that's my question. You don't have those particular dollars. You don't know what those particular dollars are at this time.
That is correct, because we're gathering information to see what those high leverage needs are, and then people like stakeholder groups now are kind of categorizing those, so we can state what do we already have, what do we need to do more of, and what needs to look different for students.
So, Mr. Barnett, I said you want to come up and say something.
We have an estimate and projection of what those dollars are in supplemental and concentration grant for the next 3 years that I'll be sharing with the board when I do the financial status report.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I do have a couple of more. So the other question is, Are the notes from the community workshop on March 1st, is that on the website?
No, not yet. That's on the board, on the board agenda.
Okay, all right.
That's where those are.
Can we put
We
those
can.
on the website? as
Yeah, because
well?
I have to still update that and also update the calendar.
Okay. And the last thing is that I heard that you had said that the teachers, because of negotiations, you really can't, get the union's feedback on the LCAP plan until negotiations are complete. Is that correct?
So we just haven't decided when we want to. Right now, we're in negotiations and we're really focusing on the contract, but we, at some point in time, need to receive consultation from them. But usually, for the unit members, it's basically when the plan is almost written, which will probably be towards the end. And so in the meantime, so it doesn't feel like that there isn't any say. So when they're in other stakeholder groups, such as
I got you.
their staff meetings or Common Core Steering Committee, that's when they give their input.
Okay, thank you.
So, when we have these updates in the future, can you always include your calendar? Because I found that very helpful. And
Oh, you mean when the board, in terms of the board meetings?
on the board meeting, right?
Okay.
Include the calendar that you developed, because you refer back to it every time you come up here. and
Okay.
I can't remember it.
Okay.
So that would just be good for
I
us to
can.
have that in front. We can see where we're at.
Okay.
Now, on there, we discussed, I don't know if it actually made it on your calendar, but having a board study session on the LCAP. So do we have
We
that
did,
scheduled?
and I know John Quinn and John Sugiyama discussed that, and I don't remember, and he can answer, was there a date that was finalized?
I don't believe the date's been finalized, no.
I remember it.
Did the date get finalized?
I don't remember now. Sorry. I know
don't
we
think so.
already discussed, because that was our charge.
Mhm.
Charge to me to work with staff.
Well, I'll certainly look into it and
All right.
I know we talked
get the
about
date
it
out.
last week, but I just can't remember.
Okay.
Okay, can we nail that down? Because yeah.
And it's already, I think it's just part of something, we've already had some special meetings coming. I think we're gonna piggyback on dates we already have.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like, I don't know, it's the kind of thing that we do before a board meeting maybe for an hour or something, something like that.
We have a lot of meetings coming, so
Yeah.
I think it's just tacked on us.
You got sure do.
There's a lot coming in April, I know that. But more generally, for both the board study session, obviously the work that you're going to be doing with the cabinet and the Common Core Steering Committee, but I think both the board study session and the work you're doing with the Parent Advisory Committee, I mean, I'd like to see you get input on. Now, you've done a very good job with the needs assessment. What are these different groups? What do they perceive as the needs in the priority areas? But I think the next step is to identify what our goals are, because that's what we have to do in the LCAP, to say, and when you're doing that, you have to also identify what the metric is. So we want to increase graduation by,
So, yeah.
3% here. We want to improve school climate. How are we going to do that? We want to improve parental involvement. What's our metric for doing that? We want to improve student achievement. How much and by what metric? So I think I'd like to hear other, some of these groups that you're talking to, particularly the ones that are, spending a lot of time thinking about this, like the site councils and the parent advisory committees and the DLACs, and the teachers, staff, what do they think our goals should be and our metrics? Because then you match that up with the needs assessment, and we start to get a clearer focus on what our top priorities are, how we're going to get there.
So because you have a difference between what you call consultants and advisors, this Common Core Steering Committee will take the first stab at that and cabinet. And so when you look at needs, usually you can look at a need and you know exactly, because when you have a matrix in terms of goals, and so when you make a goal, you have to make sure that you are able to measure a goal. And so those of us who constantly do that on a regular basis, then that's the discussion that we'll have. And I mean, it's already started. And the goals primarily will be around goals that have been set by the board in terms of the 3 goals, goals that have been set by, particularly at the high school, like the WASC, any school site council goals. So those goals that have been set forth by the DLAC, so those goals in terms of, are there goals that actually will create a different outcome for students, whether it be academically or socially, and that particular piece of work, in terms of writing that out, will start, that steering committee will start to take a stab at that.
So once you do that, are you going back to the parent advisory committee and the site councils and even the students?
The answer is yes. So once we start
here's we're developing emerging goals and how we're going to measure them by. What do you think about these? Are there other, because people might agree, they might disagree, they might have more ambitious goals, they might have different I don't know.
The answer is yes, and you are correct. I should definitely add that calendar. So on the calendar, it states that. So basically, those groups will begin to give feedback on the actual plan, because the plan has to include goals and how you are going to measure those goals over 3 years.
Great. I look forward to seeing the continuing conversation, and I think April will be a good month, even though it's a busy one, for the board to see some of this in a little more concrete form and have a study session so we can wrap our heads around it.
Yeah. So those two groups will definitely start to take a stab at the goals, cabinet and Common Core Steering Committee. The goals in terms of how we will measure that and what that looks like over a 3-year time period. And then once those are written out, so I also want to thank Member Dwin for bringing in a sample from where he works, because in that, we don't want to get necessarily at that time caught up in the template, but actually really stating these are the goals, this is the rationale, this is how we'll measure it, and then have people give feedback on that.
Any other questions for Ms. Allen? Mr. Bonet, while I'm standing there as well?
Well, I had the same question that Mr. Dwin did for Mr. Bonet, but it sounds like we'll get into that in the financial update. Okay.
And before you go, I'll ask, because I'm sure I was remiss in that, even the grad night trip. Any members of the public have any comments on this particular item? Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you both. Let's see. Now we're on to our financial status report, L4, and Mr. Bonet. Muted.
So the financial status report that you have in front of you reflects about 53% of our revenues being received to date, or as of February 28th, and 56 of our expenditures being expended. And I'll make this really brief because I went in fairly detailed information with the presentation of the second interim report, and the budget figures haven't changed since then. I'll just say that we're on track with our spending and our expenses in all funds to date, and I'll get into some of the discussion about the local control funding formula. So if there are any questions with regard to the financial status report proper, I'll be happy to answer them now before I get into the projections for next year. So as I talk about the local control funding formula, this is the first year that we've experienced this new formula. So it's kind of like the governor's thrown the spaghetti against the wall to see what sticks, and this is being implemented as we proceed through the year. And I just want to remind the board that the LCAP plan is a 3-year plan. It's not a 1-year plan that gets developed this year and then we live with it next year. But it's an ongoing, changeable document moving forward. Now, with that being said, it does have to go through review by the County Office of Education and be approved by the County Office of Education. It does have to go through a public hearing at a meeting before adoption. So the public has at least two meetings to comment on it in public, once at the public hearing and once during questions with regard to before it gets adopted by the school board, probably the second meeting in June. So the governor, when he proposed this new funding formula, he had target amounts to be reached in specific years. Now, I'm not going to be showing you what those target amounts are because they're just targets and they move. What I'm going to be sharing with you are the projected funding that the district will be receiving, as not to confuse you with where we might be and where we will be, or we're projected to be. So what I'm going to show you is the projections of the actual revenues that we'll be getting, and then the actual supplemental and concentration grant dollars that we're projecting.
While you're doing that, regarding the target, so the target for projecting is how we arrive at the dollars in subsequent years.
We will arrive at the dollars in subsequent years based on the economy of the state of California.
Well,
and which is subject to change. It can go up and it can go down.
But that's not how the formula works.
Yeah, so I think Mr. Dwin's point is that to figure out how much we have to spend a supplemental concentration on our high-need students, there's a 7-step formula. Step 1 is, what's your ultimate target? And then later on in the formula, there's a step that says, what's our gap between where we are now and that target? Or no, the question is, how much of a step towards that, closing that gap, did the state as a whole take this year? And that determines, okay, we have to take that same step towards that gap with our new money this year. So
I'll show you
we do kind of need to know the ultimate target to figure out what we're doing this year.
And in the subsequent years.
So,
okay.
So the change in the funding process is, instead of a specific dollar amount per ADA district-wide, the governor's proposed, has implemented, the state has implemented grade span dollar amounts with adjustments for K-3 class size reduction and 912C CTE, career technical education. Then supplemental funding for English learners and low-income students. Concentration funding for English learners and low-income students. And an add-on for transportation. So transportation gets added on to our base amount. Basically, what the state has done is taken all of our categorical programs and taken them out of the state portion of the revenue and given it back to districts under LCFF, and has allowed the district to apportion those dollars in the programs the districts see fit for their own local communities, as opposed to prescribed programs by the state. So in looking at our multi-year projections, our base funding total is $5,466,797. The supplemental concentration amount is $340,000. But the increase to our supplemental and concentration grant money from 13-14 to 14-15 is down under the growth line, where it says $243,174. because $97,000 that we've had in 13-14 under EIA is in the 340,000. So if you add the 97,000 that we had in EIA in actually 12-13, because EIA no longer exists in this fiscal year, the total growth funding for the supplemental and concentration grant is 243. And the growth to the base is 138,505.
That seems, I mean, this is why I'd like to see the 7 steps applied to it. It seems low to me that we're at.
I'm just not wanting to get into the weeds and
let me just finish my sentence. That is less than 10%. I mean, it might be, you know, but that's why I'd like to see it. I mean, we're spending what is 340 of our total. 5-6% of our total budget, state budget, is supplemental concentration.
yes.
Yeah, and I mean, in San Francisco,
Almost
it's
6.
in San Francisco it's 67% unduplicated students. They're at 18%.
So the new funding formula affects every single district differently. That's some of the difficulty throughout the state, that each district is not going to get the same amount of money as other districts did in the past under the revenue limit.
Yeah, no, that's true, but this metric ought to be roughly relative compared, you know, what's your population of unduplicated, which is different in every district, but with an unduplicated population as high as ours is, that seems like a small share of the portion to be dedicated to the unduplicated student spending.
Because I don't,
Now, remember that part of the funding formula for the large urban districts in the state, the TIG remained in place for those districts. So
Yeah, that's without TIG. I mean, I was looking at San Francisco's. They did a PowerPoint in February, which I was looking at today, and they very transparently laid out, here's our step 1, here's our step 2. They walked through all 7 steps, and I have questions about their formula too, but at least I could see what they were doing. So, but go ahead.
well, like I said, each district is going to be different.
Yeah.
Even like-sized districts, like-sized unified districts are going to be different depending on the percentage of the unduplicated count.
And what
now
is Emery's again?
ours was 74% this year, and it's gone down to 64% in 14-15. Or the year before it was 74, so we got this year's funding at 74%, and we dropped down to 64.
Our unduplicated dropped down to
Yes.
61? Really?
Is that tied to? Sorry. Is that tied to the number of applications for free and reduced? I mean, is that number tied exclusively to that?
Absolutely.
So that's where that drop happened.
So Ms. Dunn and I have had discussion with regard to that going into next year. That part of the registration line at the high school is that they complete that form. And we're trying to determine how we're going to do that at the elementary site. I don't know if it's back to school night or what, but we'll be working with the school to make sure that those get filled out, irregardless of whether someone may think they don't qualify or not. I think what's happened at the high school is that since students don't want to eat the food, they're not filling out the form because they're saying, why should I fill out the form if I'm not going to be eating at the cafeteria?
Yeah. So it's connected. So in this case, if I don't want to say weak spot, but our issue, well, our risk I guess, is the completion of that form in terms of the percentages or the way, whether we grow or, drop, I guess, is the issue. That's where that form becomes critical to the whole thing.
That's right. So for each application that's approved, it's about $2,000 to the district. So it's significant
So, Mr.
for making sure we get a piece of paper turned in.
So, Mr. Bonet, if I look at the 14-15 funding year and I look at the supplemental / concentration dollars of 340,802, and then I look down that same column at the growth number, the 243,174. If I were to add those two numbers, would that be the number that I'm supposed to get in year 15-16 for the supplemental concentration dollars?
No, the total is that is being allotted to, or the entitlement to Emery Unified is 340. So the 243 is the growth from 13-14 to
Okay.
14-15.
Okay, so
So the difference is what we had received in EIA in 12-13.
Okay.
That we count as a supplemental concentration grant for this fiscal year, 13-14.
So, yeah, so the 15-16 growth number is added to the 14-15 supplemental concentration to get the 15-16 concentration supplemental dollars.
Of 558. So in 15-16, it grows by $217,000. In 16-17, it's projected to grow $90,000.
Okay.
Now, once again, when I had this discussion with the board at second interim, I discussed that I'm using the school services projections, and that's what these are, and that I'm still working through the FICMAT LCFF funding model, and there's still question with regard to Department of Finance's numbers and school services. And in past years, with regard to revenue limit, I would say the accuracy between both DOF, Department of Finance, and school services has a higher percentage of being right as opposed to the Department of Finance. That's just past experience with another formula.
So between those two this year, this is school services formula that you're showing us.
Yeah.
And finance would look how different? Would the supplemental concentration be more or less?
I think it's a little more.
Mhm.
Or actually, I take that back, they should be the same because they're both using the same projection that the governor used in
Right.
January, his proposal. It's the out years, 15-16 and 16-17, is where they differ. So
but
it's,
but they're pretty similar for 14-15.
they should be, yes.
So can you share those with me? I mean, I'd really like to get into the weeds and look at the calculation, do the
Well, I
BAS
would like to see
calculator.
that. I think we need to probably have a study session with this as well, because I would also like to see those 7 steps that Member Adfield is talking about as well. So maybe that portion needs to be included in the next study session that we have with the LCAP.
We can do that.
Okay.
Can we do I'll send you what San Francisco did in their LCAP PowerPoint, but it's pretty straightforward formula. It's actually not that. So, I mean, the numbers maybe I don't know if we're still confused from finance about do we get necessary small schools, what's the basic aid impact, and so we have a few quirks about Emery that aren't sort of standard that are going to affect these things.
So last year, when I was projecting the budget for 13-14 in fiscal year 12-13, I had both formulas, both school services and the BASES, which is the county superintendent's group funding formula, which FCMAT adopted. I ran both of those, and they were within, I think, $20,000. They were very, very close. These are a little more. There's a little more disparity in those numbers, so we'll try to tighten that up before we make that presentation to the board.
Yeah, because I would actually like to see the separation of the supplemental and concentration dollars as well.
Now,
what that
I need to remind the board, there is no requirement either by SACS, by the state, or by the legislature to differentiate the expenditures of those dollars.
I would like to see.
We're going to do that, but
Right.
there is no requirement to do that.
Right.
And there's no, the only way to identify what those numbers are through a worksheet. The state doesn't apportion us dollars specifically for supplemental concentration, except on the worksheet. So there is not a object code or a SACS code
can create those.
that identifies.
Right, we can create those though, and you're right.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. The state hasn't done that, and the Department of Education has thus far consciously avoided doing that. And I was on a phone call for 2 hours today talking about exactly that issue, SACS coding of LCFF. But that's the accounting side. The state LCFF regulations absolutely require us to follow that 7-step formula and ascertain a dollar amount of what is our supplemental concentration spending for this year, and to report that in the LCAP. It's step 3C of the LCAP. The very first sentence is describe that increase in funds due to supplemental concentration from section blah, 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 A5 of the regs. And that A5 is our supplemental concentration. So we do have to figure that out and be transparent and report that. And then the next section, we translate that to a percentage, the one I was sort of, ours is 6%, San Francisco's is 18%, to a percentage sort of effort that we need to then provide students over and above what we provide, to the general ed program. So anyway, so yeah, you're right. It's not in the SACS code, but we do have to come up with a number. We do have to sort of describe those services that correspond to that number.
It's a big job.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
The difficulty for me right now is the disparity between the school services number and the other worksheet. So, because the Department of Finance has not come out and said, well, maybe they have said the official worksheet you should be using is housed with FCMAT. That being said, I'm still fearful of the projections by the Department of Finance in the out years.
Yeah. So I share your confusion on that point because they shouldn't be that far apart. But for our purposes here, I don't think there's a problem with just explaining, here's what FCMAT's coming up with, here's the FCMAT calculator, here's school services, and we're working on it. Just so we know what are the numbers, what are the disparities. There's no downside to that. The upside is that also Ms. Emery and Towns and Associates is arranging a visit to Sacramento in about 3 weeks that Mr. Dwin and I are going to go on with the superintendent. And I was just saying today, I ought to set up a meeting with my friends at finance so we can look at Emery and say,
I would love that.
And that if we can get Mark on the phone at least for that, it's going to be during spring break, so, optional. But
We can set something up.
yeah, we can set something up to kind of hook you in to kind of say why are these this way, why is that that way, figure out some of these basic aid and necessary small school quirks that might be impacting those disparities.
And I'm thinking it may be better to make that connection sooner than later.
Yeah,
You know,
that's possible.
You may want to have a phone call, a
Maybe when
conference
Mark's
call.
not on spring break.
Right. Or even before spring break. If we can arrange a
Well,
conference.
I will be up in Sacramento next week at the
Casbo.
annual Casbo conference.
Right.
What
So
what day is that?
Yeah. So
Thursday, Friday,
yeah,
Saturday.
so you may be able to hook something.
Actually,
up.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah, might be up there one of those days,
Yeah.
so maybe I can
Um,
see if we can meet with someone.
So that'll be
It-
helpful.
And I mean, I share the concerns as well, but I mean, for me, putting it in a template showing, some type of projections, I think would help staff with the LCAP. And if numbers move, via the May revise, I mean, we can always change numbers. But I think, putting it out there, laying it out, in a format whereas it's transparent to know we have this amount basic, this amount supplemental, this amount concentration will definitely help the LCAP in their preparations.
Absolutely. And last night at the BAC meeting, I shared the numbers with the BAC and what that supplemental and concentration number was. I shared with them the newspaper report and that took you to a website
Okay.
that shows $365,000 to Emery instead of the 340. So it's kind of still in the ballpark. And remember, this is 14-15 budget. We're still working our way through that process to bring back to the board. So this is still early information. Once the May revise is, we will have hard numbers that we will be bringing to the board at the study session and for adoption in June. So
Yeah.
this is really early in the
Well-
process, and these numbers will change between now and then.
Okay.
But templates are being drafted and
Exactly.
goals are being set and,
Exactly. Exactly.
so this is what we got to work with for now,
Yeah.
And this
then-
is what we're sharing with,
Right.
with
Right. So, I mean, I
with
think
the
there is
committees.
some meaning to them, and as we worked out with Miss Allen, there is going to be, the May revise is worked into our calendar so that we will revisit the template and the goals, et cetera, after the May revise and the numbers change.
So for planning purposes, we've shared this information, and so the committees have a good idea of the monies
got
that are
you.
coming in for those additional services that we need to give to our students with regard to the supplemental and concentration grants.
Okay.
Yeah. And I appreciate this level of transparency, because this is more than some districts are providing. I mean, there, you have some clear dollar amounts up there, and I'm hearing from our, many of our grassroots partners in the field, they can't even get a dollar number at this stage out of their districts, offices. So I appreciate that.
And I think we shared the number with the board at the second interim. I can't remember if I did or not,
You
but maybe I
mentioned the
verbalized
number.
it
You
and not,
verbalized it. Yes, you did.
and not present it to them in this fashion.
Okay.
Very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we hit the
We good?
financial status.
Yeah.
Thank you, and all these are informational only.
Right.
Appreciate it, Mr. Bonet.
Thank you.
Oh, before you go, thank you. Any members of the public wish to address this particular topic? And we will see it again numerous times. Thank you.
I wanted to say thank you to
Member Simon?
former board member Simon.
I know he's taking his other.
He's still technically with us for a couple more hours.
Right, he gets his day off, it looks like.
After meeting with him because I've only been here a little more than a year and a half, it's refreshing to, because I've worked in education for 35 years or so, and this is a really solid board, and each one of you has your own contribution to make. And I just want to say thank you for being a member of the facility committee and the finance committee of the board. It's been helpful to me as a new employee and your new CBO to have your support and to see your dedication to the district. So just thank you.
Quite welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Bonet.
Thank you, Mr. Bonet.
All right. Well, and at this time, we're going to move to board reports and announcements.
I have an announcement.
We have one.
Just want to let the community know that tomorrow, March 27th, from 7 p.m. to 8:30, our Assembly member, Nancy Skinner, who is now the new chair of the Assembly Budget Committee, will be holding a budget town hall meeting tomorrow at Piedmont Elementary School, which is 4314 Piedmont Avenue. And with that, there will be the local nonprofit Next 10, which will also be there. And that organization will be leading the participants in a interactive budget challenging exercise to really see what the participants would like to see or what their California budget priorities are. So she can take that back to the legislators when they convene for the budget hearings. I have actually participated in one of these workshops years ago, and it's a very interesting and exciting interactive workshop. Next 10 will give you clippers. They will show some of the budget priorities, whether it be education, public safety, transportation, and the participants will get a chance to click their clickers to see what are their high budget priorities. So, you know, it's a very interesting exercise if anyone wants to come. Again, it will be tomorrow, March 27th, from 7 to 8:30 p.m. at the Piedmont Elementary School, which is located at 4314 Piedmont Avenue in Oakland.
We, John and I, participated in the superintendent's curriculum committee this right before the current board meeting this evening, and our charge was to work with Miss Allen and John Quinn related to follow-up activities from our retreat this past Saturday, which the board highlighted approval and support of a thrust that was mentioned earlier, college prep thrust with technology, well, plus technology. I like college prep plus technology. Yeah, through the community schools. That's the other part. So with that, we discussed how that information will come back to the board for adoption or the right and proper acknowledgement of that. In addition to that, I just want to raise, because I'm pretty selfish about, I also, in that discussion, brought up our guiding principles, and the point was, I think, relatively easy one, that there's a need to rejuvenate, or I don't want to say resurrect, but rejuvenate our that core philosophy of the district. So with the initial thrust conversation that comes before the board sometime in April, hopefully we'll also find a way to embed and make sure that from the top to the bottom to the top, we find ways to incorporate and highlight and really reactivate in a meaningful way the guiding principles. So that was another area that we discussed among some other issues, other parts. Would you add anything to that? And also creating a graphical representation to make it a, very appealing and attractive and approachable and digestible, I guess, information. So that was the discussion.
It's all good.
Good job.
All right. Any other board reports and announcements? And just to note, this is Joshua Simon's final board meeting this evening, so we're going to keep them really long in our closed session. And so So I'll just follow on that. We have a calendar review section. I'll just read through it real quick. That's fine. Our next regular board meeting is April 9. We've concluded our curriculum committee meeting this evening. We have a finance committee meeting April 16th. Facilities committee meeting next April 2nd. Communications committee meeting April 9th. A lot of committee meetings. City school, our next quarterly city school committee meeting is April 3rd, and the next board meeting following in April, our last one in April, is April 30th. And so we'll now convene, the closed session by adjourning this meeting.
Oh, wait.
You ready? Okay, so just to withdraw that whole convening to closed session now, we're actually going to open up public comment real briefly before we convene to closed session. I missed you, Ms. Miles.
Audrey Miles, Anna Yates. I just wanted to make sure that I invite everyone. Your students from Anna Yates Drama Club will be presenting a 5-play excerpt on Friday, March 28th. You have 25 to 30 fabulous Anna Yates drama students from 4th grade to 8th grade that will be presenting. As well, on Friday night is a dinner theater, and it is going to be fabulous. It is a full dinner. And the students had dress rehearsal today. That's why I was late. So I wasn't able to say this. So I'm inviting the public. It's the cost of $15 for the dinner and the production. And on Saturday, you can also attend for $10, and they'll have a snack bar open. So we hope you come out and support us. The funds we get, the funds that we get, the time is 6 o'clock on Friday, and the production on Saturday is at 3. And the funds that we get from these productions help to support this program throughout next year. So we hope you come out and support us.
And
Okay?
which Friday and Saturday?
It's at the Senior Center on, I forget what the address is, on Salem. And Friday night's performance is at 6 o'clock, and the performance on Saturday is at 3.
So Friday, March 28th?
Friday, March 28th,
Saturday, March
and Saturday, March 29th. Thank you for helping me with that. Okay? Please come.
Thank you.
Good food. I'm cooking. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Ms. Miles.
I got a question for you.
So, can I?
No.
Okay, so I'll now convene the closed session. Thank you.
So what time will it be over with?
Or adjourn
Friday.
closed
I have
session,
an
or-